on YouTube answering astrology questions, metaphysical questions, and questions about your natal charts. So if you guys have any questions, feel free to comment below. If you guys want your own natal chart reading or progress natal chart reading, the information for all of that is going to be in the description box below underneath the readings tab. I've also added synastry readings and I have one-on-one business guidance as well. So all of that is going to be available on my website in the description box below. What should we talk about today? I'm answering astrology questions, metaphysical questions, questions about your natal charts. Welcome to all the people joining. I'm answering astrology questions, metaphysical questions, and questions about your natal charts. So if you guys have any questions, feel free to comment below. What should we talk about today? Welcome, welcome, welcome to all the people joining. What kinds of things would you guys like to talk about today? I'm answering astrology questions, metaphysical questions, questions about your natal chart. So if you guys have any questions, feel free to comment below. Hey, Alexandra, how are you doing? I'm answering astrology questions, metaphysical questions, and questions about your natal chart. So if you guys have any questions, feel free to comment below. What should we talk about today? Thank you for the likes, you guys. Are you talking about the current transit with Leo in Venus and Pluto opposing? Yes, Pluto's in Aquarius. Yeah, I mean, that's intense. It's probably going to bring up a lot of things for people in their love lives. You want to see where do you have those energies in your natal chart? Like what houses do you have it in to see how it's going to affect you specifically? But yeah, anytime you have Venus opposing Pluto, it's going to just bring up probably shadow things to the surface within people's love lives. Anything to do with like codependencies, anything to do with like anything that's shadow Pluto. Do you know what I mean? So manipulation, control, possessiveness, like these might be like things that are coming to the surface. But yes, if you want more information, you'd have to see what house do you have all of those energies in. So what house do you have Leo in, and then what house do you have Aquarius in? It'll give you more information. Welcome to all the people joining. I'm answering astrology questions, metaphysical questions, questions about your natal charts. What should we talk about today? If you guys have any questions, feel free to comment below. Or your sun has progressed into the 12th house. That is a little bit intense because during this era in your life, you might not necessarily know who you are. You might be doing a lot of soul searching. You might be really trying to figure out like the secrets and the mysteries. You might be clearing a lot of things to do with your unconscious and your subconscious. You might be kind of fighting internally with like wanting to be seen, but also hiding at the same time with the sun in the 12th house. So you can kind of look at it as like karmic clearance, but surrounding like the ego and the identity and the self. So it's this. Originally you had it in the 11th house. Maybe you're even going through like a spiritual awakening as well during this period of time. Welcome to all the people joining and all the people in the room. What should we talk about today? Okay, so you're welcome. You have Leo in the 10th house. Aquarius is in the 4th house. Okay, so Pluto's transiting your 4th house. That's intense. You're going to have a lot of things come to the surface around your home. And then Venus is transiting your 10th house right now. Maybe, I mean, again, I don't like to do predictive types of readings, but Venus in the 10th is usually like relationships that are of like a higher caliber. So this could be something that you're interested in during this time. Mars in the 8th house in Cancer. Mars in Cancer is a little bit intense. The thing is, you always want to see what's going on with the rest of the aspects with anything in a natal chart. But if you look at just Mars in Cancer, yes, it's definitely intense, this energy, because it's like it's a little bit more lethargic. The thing is, Mars is exalted in Capricorn, right? So like that's the ultimate potential for Mars, and it does very well on this earth plane because this earth plane is very, very Saturnian on its own. Cancer is oppositional to this. So Cancer wants to chill, it wants to go with the vibes. If something feels off, they're not going to do it, whereas like Capricorn will push through because they have the end goal in mind. So when you have Mars in Cancer, you want to see how can you take advantage of like the Capricorn energy. Do you know what I mean? Like anytime you guys have like a fallen energy, you want to look at the oppositional energy. How does that energy act, and how can you change your energy to work in that way? Otherwise, you're not going to get anything done with Mars in Cancer, okay? Mars in the 8th house, that's a good energy on its own because this energy kind of works behind the scenes to get the end goal. Hey, everyone. Hey, how you guys doing? Cancer North Node at the 1st degree, and then you have 6th house. What does that mean? Okay, so that means your South Node is in Capricorn, it's in the 12th house. Maybe in a past life you wanted to start a business or something of that sort, but you weren't able to because of the 12th house. Maybe you had developed these skills, but you weren't able to flourish, for example, with the Capricorn energy, because that's that axis of like public versus private life with the Cancer Capricorn. So in a past life, maybe you wanted to be a public person, for example, but you weren't able to be for whatever reason. Because the way that I see it is like, if you completed it, you wouldn't be reincarnating. Do you know what I mean? So it's like you mastered it, yes, but you didn't probably get to fully complete it. So you want to see how can you take that energy and apply it in a Cancer North Node type of way. So Cancer North Node is all about nurturing and helping people. So maybe let's say you already have the business skills, for example. Well, now maybe you're like nurturing this, or like maybe let's say you started a business, but it's like it's more Cancerian, it's more nurture based. Do you know what I mean? It's more about like helping people and these types of things. For example, obviously depends on the rest of the energies in your natal chart. And then 6th house is also health, healing, and being of service. So a lot of your life purpose deals with helping and healing others is really, really what that is. Hey everyone, how you guys doing? Kundalini awakening, I know different people have different opinions on that. The way that I personally see it is you're taking all of the energy that is at the base of the spine, like of the chakras, and you're shooting it upwards, okay, is really, really what that is. So that's the way that I see it. You want to take all that sexual energy and shoot it upwards into your spiritual chakras. So it's like, it's part of like the healing journey and the healing process to become more whole is really what that is. This is the way that I see it. And then you're using your sexual energy to create for yourself. That's the way that I see it. You're not kind of like sprinkling it all over the place and you're like not stuck in those lower chakras. That's kind of how I see it, but that's just my opinion. I'm sure other people have different opinions. What's my take on Venus conjunct Mars and Mercury in the natal? Okay, so Venus conjunct Mars is nice because your masculine and feminine are on the same page, your masculine and feminine energy, and then Mercury in there, maybe you're going to talk about these things, maybe you're going to be super creative, and then like you use your throat chakra in this type of way, in a creative type of way, for example. I'm curious to know what signs you have in here and what house is it in for a little bit more information. You're welcome. Hey, how are you doing, Susie? You said you have 12th house stellium, all in Leo, Sun, Venus, and Mercury. That's interesting because Leo wants to be seen and then the 12th house is hiding. So you probably have this constant push-pull of wanting to be seen creatively as a creative person, but then the 12th house is hiding, right? So you're gonna have to push through that energy within the self because Leo needs to be seen, okay? They need to express, they need to be out there, they need to be seen creatively for the creative people that they are is really, really what that is. So it's this, and even Sun in the 12th house, like that energy also has that, I don't want to say secret, it's not like it's like a secret desire, but it's almost like an unknown desire that's within them to be seen because they spend a lot of their time, especially the early part of their life, hidden. So you'll have to honor that within yourself in whatever way, shape, or form you can. Like Leo can maybe be interested in improv or like public speaking or teaching or something of the sort where you're on a stage basically. YouTube maybe. Hey everyone, how you guys doing? Give me 1 second. All right, I am back. You saw my video about Sun in the 12th house. I said something that really resonated with you, like someone very close might be mentally ill and that we, with that placement, might need to heal that. And you're a bit like, how? I'd have to rewatch that video to see exactly what I said and what you're referring to. But yes, you can't really heal anybody else. The only thing is you can hold space for people, you can plant seeds, you can create like a comfortable environment for them to kind of speak on things and then, you know, kind of help guide them maybe in the right direction. You'd have to really think about it because it depends on the person. Do you know what I mean? It's like just like trying to plant like positive experiences that'll like shake up their energy. So like maybe going to the gym or something of the sort. You know what I mean? Because all those things will help raise their vibration. But yeah, you can't heal anybody, unfortunately. That's the important thing to understand. The only thing anyone can do is hold space, like be there for the person, like if they want to talk about it. And then in that moment, like creating like that, you know, comfortable setting for them to speak on it. And also you can plant seeds, like plant ideas. But at the end of the day, like, if you'll learn anything in this lifetime, is that people don't actually like want to hear your opinion on, let's say, healing and these types of things. Usually people want to be validated in their experience. So it's like tricky. So it depends. It's going to be different from experience to experience. Hey, Sundog, how are you doing? What's new? Hey, Shavon, how are you doing? I'm just going up to the questions. But yes, feel free to comment below, you guys. I'm answering astrology questions, metaphysical questions, questions about your natal chart. So if you guys have questions about any of those things, feel free to comment below. I will be going in order. Neptune in Aquarius, and then you said 10th, and then you put 6.08. Could you please clarify that? You said North Node in Pisces in 4th house. Does that mean you have to be a home wife? No, it doesn't. So when you have the 10th house, 4th house access, it could be one of the manifestations. Like if you're interested in that, yes, like it could manifest in that direction, but it doesn't mean you have to do that. It's just like the public versus private access. So it's like in this lifetime, you're working a little bit more behind the scenes when you have a North Node in the 4th house. In the past life, you were in the public, maybe you were in the public eye. In this lifetime, you're helping the public from behind the scenes. It's in Pisces. So like, let's say that could even manifest into someone who, I'm just seeing like someone creating like some kind of medicines or like herbs, you know what I mean? And it's like, you're not outwardly there, but it's like, you know, when you go to the store and you buy certain things, you don't always see who made that thing. Do you know what I mean? So it could be something like this, like you create something that's like healing or helps the collective, but it's like from behind the scenes. So yes, it doesn't have to be a stay-at-home wife. Oh, thank you, Christine. You're so awesome. Hey, Edward. You guys are all awesome. Thank you all for being in the chat. Let me know what we should talk about today. I'm answering astrology questions, metaphysical questions, questions about your natal charts. If you guys have questions, feel free to comment below. Jupiter in the 2nd house in Capricorn. Oh, that's a nice energy. You know, it's interesting. Jupiter, they say like falls in Capricorn, but I see it as a very good placement for achieving material wealth and material gains when Jupiter's in Capricorn. So it's this because this earth plane is like very much Capricorn, you know? So it's like Jupiter doesn't like being in Capricorn because Jupiter is spiritual and it wants to expand the mind and it wants to like go off on like a spiritual journey and like all these types of things. But the plane is material. Do you know what I mean? At the end of the day. So it's like to get money, to get gains, to get the wealth, like Jupiter and Capricorn is going to bless you there. So it's good for this. And then 2nd house. Also, the thing is like Jupiter and Capricorn can be like kind of strict because you guys can also look at like Jupiter as how you guys teach as well. So when you have it in Capricorn, it might be like a little bit more of like a strict type of teacher, but for material like success, I see it as a good placement. And even the 2nd house in there, that's also another wealth placement too. So yes, Sapphire looks like you're mastering money as part of your life purpose in this lifetime. Hey everyone, how you guys doing? You guys are all awesome. Thank you for the kind words. You have Pluto conjuncting your ascendant. When Pluto retrogrades during the yes, how does it affect me? Did you mean during the year? Pluto conjuncting the ascendant. So you'd always have to see like what Pluto, so this year Pluto's going, yes, it's in retrograde right now, but it's retrograding through Aquarius. So you want to see what house you have Aquarius in. So it's affecting that house. Do you know what I mean? So it's going to bring certain things to the surface, maybe out of your unconscious. So when like the transit is retrograding, it's probably going to bring up certain things for you, for example. So it could be this. Okay, 12th house Neptune retrograde. So anytime you guys have a retrograde in the natal chart, like as one of your placements, you're like relearning that lesson in this lifetime. So the energy to me, the way that it feels is like you've done it so many times that you're kind of like over it, but it's like you still have to master it or you haven't mastered it yet. So Neptune retrograde could be a lot of this like cloud energy, especially because you have it in the 12th house too. A lot of going into the mind and escaping and dreaming and daydreaming, and like it could be psychic, absolutely, Neptune in the 12th house, but it's retrograde. So the energy could be more so internalized versus externalized. So you have to focus on getting all of these thoughts and ideas out, okay, when you have Neptune retrograde. And then it's in the 12th house. Like those people are super creative, but they're also super sensitive, okay? So it's like those people are going to pick up on a vibe before it even happens. So what do I mean by this? Like, let's say you're out, you know, and like, you know, like when you go out and it starts to get to like a certain hour and like people are starting to get like very intense energetically because like all the demons are starting to come out. That's really, really what's happening, right? So Neptune in the 12th house person is going to pick up on this, and then the mood, like your mood's going to shift on you. Do you know what I mean? Because you're picking up on it unconsciously. Most people wouldn't notice this. Only a psychic person would notice this. But yes, you could be super psychic, and like psychic energy, creative energy, healing energy is all connected. So maybe you're going to be very creative too, with Neptune in the 12th house too. And also another thing that I want to say is that 12th house is another thing that you're closing out. So maybe a lot of these ideas, or maybe like your psychic gifts and abilities from a past life, are carried over into this lifetime, for example. You asked me, how was my last Cancer moon? Your brother and stepfather, both Capricorn rising, both hitting the 4th house topics. Oh, wow. You said your brother initiated taking over your car. See, astrology is so fascinating because you always see it playing out. You asked me to talk about Sun conjunct Pluto. You have it in Libra conjunct the IC. You're a Leo ascendant. So you have Sun conjunct Pluto, and then you have that in Libra conjuncting the IC. So your IC is in Libra too. Is that what's happening? And then is all of that in the 4th house too? Anyway, Sun conjunct Pluto is going to give you like a Plutonian type of personality is really what that is. So you might come off a little bit intimidating to people, a little bit intense to people. You might be kind of like brooding in the corner, even though it's in Libra. Do you know what I mean? There's still like this depth to you. There's this like new dimension added to your personality, because it's like Libra's fun. Do you know what I mean? Libra is all about connections and making friends and hanging out and like doing all the fun things. But now it's conjuncting Pluto, your Sun. So that's your ego. And also because Sun is your ego and it's your identity, it conjuncting Pluto, right? There could be a lot of things here going on with your ego where like you go through a lot of death and rebirth and like ego death and change and transformation throughout your life, for example. Hey everyone, you guys are so awesome. I don't answer any sort of predictive questions. I only answer questions about your natal charts, astrology, overall, and anything to do with the metaphysical world. So if you guys have any questions about those types of things, you guys can feel free to comment below. Oh my gosh, Maria, hey, how are you guys doing? What's new? What's the 411? Hey, oh my gosh, hey Shani, how are you doing? What's new? Leo Venus and Libra Venus compatibility. Oh, that could be nice. Oh, you're awesome too, thank you. Leo Venus and Libra Venus could be a good combination. It could be a little bit more on the superficial side. So you'd have to see what's going on with the rest of the energies in between the two people. But yeah, like you guys can very much like boost each other up. Like Leo and Libra get along, do you know what I mean? Like they both love themselves. So they're gonna enjoy having a lot of like fun activities of like, oh, let's take photos of each other and like these types of things. That's Leo and like Libra. So yeah, those two can get along. Hey everyone, how you guys doing? You're saying, are you more your south node in this lifetime, considering that's what you were in a past life? It could be. So it's like with the south node, you might focus on the south node, but you don't want to do that, right? You master that already. So that's what people have the tendency to do because it's comfortable and it's familiar. So you don't want to focus on the south node. You want to focus on the north node is really, really what that is. So it's like you want to take the south node knowledge and look at it and see how can you apply it in a north node type of way. So that's the thing with the south node, north node. So yes. Okay, I'm just going up to the place that I was at before. I'll get you guys at the bottom in just a second. You have Virgo in the 9th house, and then you said for all planets. Oh my gosh, really? You have everything in Virgo and in the 9th house? That's intense. There's a lot of criticism probably that you grew up with. Oh, those were the degrees. Oh my gosh, that's so funny. Okay, you have Neptune and Aquarius in the 10th house. So Neptune and Aquarius is the subset of your generation. So for you guys, the area that you don't see clearly is the futuristic ideas, like the humanitarian issues. Like maybe you guys have like very like futuristic ideas in terms of like how the collective should be. How can you help the collective? How can you help propel them forward? And all these wonderful things, okay, with Neptune and Aquarius, but you don't see it clearly is really, really what that is. So it's like maybe you dream about it more. Maybe you think about it more. So it's you and the other people within that subset of your generation, okay? The house affects you more for the external planets. So Neptune in the 10th house, this energy is going to blur your area of career. So you spend a lot of time thinking about your career and dreaming about your career, and it could be like this, and I want to do that thing, and I want to do this, and I want to be a dancer, and I want to be a musician, and it's like it's too all over the place. So you have to think about how can you clear that energy for yourself and basically hone in on one thing and do just one thing at a time, basically. How are you guys doing? I'm just going back up. You said meaning of square aspects in the birth chart. Is it always bad? What if there are a lot of squares but also a lot of triangles? Yeah, you have to look at everything. I don't look at anything as good or bad. It's kind of like the energy's there. So how can you work with the energy? The square is a challenge because you have one planet that's trying to do one thing and the other planet that's trying to do another thing, right? But the thing is, the energy's there, you know? So it's like, depending on the square, you're gonna have to see how can you work with the energy that you have in your natal chart. That's really what it is. So don't ever go into like, you know, negative like mindset in any way, shape or form. Oh, it's this is a fallen planet, this is a negative aspect. Oh, it's gonna manifest like this, because it can manifest so many ways. Do you know what I mean? Because it's like there's so much going on in a natal chart is really, really what that is. Hey, Angela, how are you doing? How are you guys doing? Oh, that's a very interesting question. You said you were medically dead for hours and then you got revived after hours. Will your natal chart change? That's a very good question. I'm not sure. Maybe you would have a second natal chart that you could look at. I wouldn't be able to tell you, but that is a very interesting question. I'll have to think about that one and get back to you. You said, what do I think about people doing a solo journey and working alone, or people working in groups to achieve a goal? You said sometimes it feels like it's easier alone because people don't cooperate. On what conditions would people want to cooperate? Okay, here's the thing. At this point in time, depends first of all where you live. If you're anywhere in the Western world, like we're at the point in time where it's like a lot of people are trying to like do things for their own interests. Do you know what I mean? Like it's at like peak of that energy, you know? So it's definitely challenging to get everyone to be on the same page, because it's like, you know, you could always have one person that's kind of has like ulterior motives within the group. So it depends what are you trying to achieve, because it's like if you're all on the same page and you all know what you want to do and you all know like which direction you're all heading in, then it's like you will manifest it faster and you'll bring it through faster. But if it's not manifesting and you have all these people working together, then there's something there that is, or someone that's kind of like the bad apple, or like, you know, kind of doing something else, or like doing something on the side and these types of things. So it depends, because it's like, it depends on you as a person too. Because it's like, let's say you're someone who's more watery, for example, or like maybe even if you have like Scorpionic energy, or just in general, even Piscean energy, just any water energy, it's like you might operate better on your own in the beginning, because it's like you're using all of your energy to bring something through for yourself. But then if there's other people and then you merge to them and then they're like shadowy, or they have like ulterior motives, like then you're manifesting for those people. Do you know what I mean? So it depends. It's hard to say. I don't do past life readings. You said, as a 12th house, how can you know if psychic intuitive messages are true? As corny as it sounds, you have to get in tune with your heart space. That is the only time you're going to be able to discern if something is true or not. Like you'll be able to feel it within the body. That's the only time. I can't explain it really any other way, because it's like, it's a feeling more so when you get information, and it's like a vibrational thing. So it's like, if it's something that's lower vibrational or like not in your highest good, it pulls you usually into the lower chakras, for example, or like gives you anxiety, like an anxiety type of feeling. But if it's something that's in alignment, it feels like open and, you know, like you're excited to do that thing, or like, you know, it's very heart centered in that sense, or it's like there isn't like a lot of resistance. Sometimes when you're tapping into something and there's like resistance there, there's something there that's not matching. That's the only way that I can really explain it, is really what that is. And like different people receive information differently, is really what that is. So it depends. It really depends. But I have a bunch of videos on psychic gifts and abilities. You guys don't have to keep repeating the questions. I will get to everyone at the bottom. But yes, I have a whole bunch of different videos on my YouTube channel on psychic gifts and abilities, getting in tune with your psychic gifts and abilities, and how to get in tune with them. And it's like, the more time you spend in your own energy and like detoxing from other people's energy, you'll be able to feel what your energy is. You know what I mean? And then you'll be able to feel into things. What is this energy? Is this somebody else's? Is this positive? Is this negative? All these types of things. So that's the only way I can explain it. You said, what are my thoughts on dreams? You said you had one about a bear in the house. Yeah, it's interesting. I have a few different opinions on dreams, because I think a few different things can be happening. Sometimes dreams can be like literally your subconscious just like rearranging itself. So it's like maybe something that you did throughout that day, or just like something you didn't process and you're processing it at a later time. For example, it's going to come up in your dream. Like let's say you went away and you were like super busy, and like because you were so busy and you were doing things back to back to back, you didn't have time to process everything that was taking place. You might dream about that later because you're processing it at that time. So that could be one type of dream. Another type of dream could be you're resolving things in the astral plane with people. So this is the thing, you're only gonna know that for yourself, like what's happening, you know? Sometimes like you connect with people in the astral plane. Let's say you couldn't resolve things with them in the physical reality, you're gonna connect with them in the astral plane. So there's those types of dreams. Then there's like prophetic types of dreams, where it's like you're literally getting like visions and actual like, you know, future prophetic like prophecies, maybe for yourself or for the collective, or so on and so forth. So it could be that as well. And then if it's like you want to know, like, because you said you had one about a bear in the house, like in that case, what I would do is I would look up online. Like there used to be a website, I haven't looked at it in a really long time, but there used to be a website called Dream Moods back in the day, and it had like all of like the animals or everything. Like you could type in a word and it would tell you what that means. So yeah, it's hard to say with just like the bear, you know, because you'd have to look at the context, what was happening. Sometimes it's the feeling. And then there's the other aspect of dreams. This is just my theory, you guys. So you guys can take it if it resonates and leave it behind if it does not. But sometimes I feel like our energy is being siphoned in our dreams too. Usually those are like the intense types of dreams where you're having like intense types of emotions. So it can be any of these things, but it's like, it's hard to say because you're only gonna know for yourself like what's actually happening. Do you know what I mean? Is it like you're resolving something, or is it something from the subconscious that's being brought forward, or these types of things? So those are all of my conclusions so far. Yeah, it was called Dream Moods. I'm sure if you type in Dream Moods in if you type in Dream Moods in Google, I mean, this was years ago. I haven't been on this website in so long, but I'm sure if it's still around, it'll pop up. Okay, if you're a Leo rising, so you're a Leo rising, okay? So you're Leo rising, your descendant's gonna be in Aquarius, your 4th house is going to be in Scorpio, and then your 10th house is going to be in Taurus, okay? Which is interesting because you asked the financial question earlier. So in this lifetime, because your 10th house is Taurus, you're mastering money is really, really what that is. But to get to the 10th house, you have to go through your 4th house, which is Scorpio. Now, this is if you don't have any interceptions, by the way. If you have interceptions, then this axis is going to be different for you. But traditionally for Leo risings, they want to be seen, and they want to be seen creatively, and they want to be on that stage is really, really what that is. So you need to be either in entrepreneurship, or you need to be in acting, for example, or even politicians. I've seen them with Leo rising as well, or like a teacher, for example. But the thing is, or even musicians, the thing is, if your 4th house is in Scorpio, there's so much going on in your emotional world that needs to be resolved. So a lot of the time you'll see actors with this energy taking place because they might not be able to be openly vulnerable or express their emotions with the Scorpio 4th house. So they do it through acting because Scorpio doesn't want to be vulnerable, you know? So when they're acting, right, it's like they get to express maybe those emotions and feelings, but it's through the lens of a character. So it's kind of like, oh, it's not me that's doing that. It's going to be the actor or like the character that I'm playing that's doing that or saying that, okay? So it's this. So it depends. It depends on the rest of your natal chart, but this is the direction that you're heading in, okay, is really, really what that is. So I'm curious to know, because I'm curious also to know whether your 12th house is in. So if you're Leo rising, your 12th house would be in Cancer, which is also interesting. So I'm curious to know. Let me know. Oh my gosh, hey. Oh, no way. Oh my gosh, that's so nice to hear that it's like ASMR. Oh, yay, that's so great. You know what's so interesting? When I would hang out with my grandma, like anytime that I would just be talking to her, she'd always fall asleep. And I never found it to be offensive. I just figured it was like for me, like talking. She just like falls asleep. So it's really, really interesting that you mentioned the ASMR thing. Oh, it's still there. No way. Okay, cool. Yes. Okay, so that website is still there, like the Dream Moods website. You said, since it's retrograde, your dreams have been hard to remember. Interesting. You're a Pisces sun and your dreams are intense. You always remember them in order. You're having a hard time now, Libra rising. Honestly, sometimes, here's the thing, it depends what you're doing during the day, because I notice for me, because I do a lot of psychic work during the day, and I'm just like in the astral during the day, like in the nighttime, I don't usually, recently I've been remembering more dreams, but usually like in the recent past, I haven't been remembering my dreams because I feel like it's a break. Do you know what I mean? From going off into the astral, going off into the crown. So it kind of depends what you're doing is really, really what that is as to, you know, why you might not be remembering them. It might not serve you to know sometimes either. Depends on you as a person. Like if you spend a lot of time decoding them throughout your day, like that could be taking up a lot of your energy too. So maybe you're just taking like a break from all of that. Mars, Uranus conjunction in the 10th house. Midheaven, yes, I'm gonna go back up to where I was earlier. I start bouncing back and forth when more of you guys start to come into the chat. But yes, Mars, Uranus conjunction, and it's in the 10th house and your midheaven. So Mars, Uranus is a rebel, okay? So these people are like the ones that want to rebel against authority, authoritative figures, anything to do with like even society, but sometimes it's too rebellious. Do you know what I mean? Sometimes it's like you're gonna tell your friend, oh, I'm gonna go to the gym today, and now because you told your friend and the expectation is there, now you're not gonna do it because you're like, oh, well, you know, just because they want me to do it, I'm not gonna do it. Do you know what I mean? Or like they think I'm gonna do it. So it can sometimes be like rebellious in the shadow sense. I really, really hope that that makes sense. So it's like, it's a good energy for like changing the status quo. Even when you were a kid, you even probably rebelled against your parents too. Like your parents probably had a hard time like really getting you to do anything. Because with Mars Uranus conjunction, these people are the types of people that like you need to tell them and be like, oh, there's this thing that needs to be done. Like let's say when you were a kid, you know, let's say there was a chore that your parents wanted you to do, like it would just be good for them to be like, oh, you know, your room needs to be cleaned, and they don't give you a deadline, or it doesn't sound like an order. Do you know what I mean? Because as soon as it sounds like an order or an expectation, you're now rebelling against them, right? So for anybody who has kids who have this particular energy, like you can kind of work with them in that way. So even like at work, right? Like it's like something, the energy is like there can't be a deadline, there can't be an expectation, there can't be a pressure. So sometimes these energies, like, or that particular energy, like can work really well on its own. Or again, if you know that about yourself, right, then you're gonna have to work with that energy within yourself, that you might just like constantly be rebelling against people, or even rebelling against yourself, for example. Okay, now it's in your 10th house. So it being in the 10th house, like this is now all about the money and the gains and the wealth. Uranus in the 10th house can be like a unique type of job or profession or career, something usually that's unique to you. Maybe you even make it up and you invent it, is really what that is. And then a Mars is pulling you in that direction. Okay, it's kind of helping you go in that direction. Oh, I don't look at transits. I don't do predictive astrology. I just look at the energies in your natal charts. You're welcome. Oh yes, Mars, Uranus happen. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so Mars is the planet of war, and then we have Uranus, the planet of sudden unexpected change. And then we had that whole situation take place. Okay, I'm just going back up to see where I was earlier. North Node, Venus, Jupiter, and Pluto, all in Scorpio in the 11th house. Why did you put a sad face? For you, it's all about the groups of people, connecting groups of people. Venus and Jupiter in the 11th house could be like working with the internet, having an online business with all of that 11th house energy in there is a futuristic way of thinking. Thank you so much for the likes, you guys. Futuristic ways of thinking. Maybe you think of an invention. Maybe you think of something that is like very new, like an innovation. Maybe it's tech, maybe it's a startup. So that's all of that 11th house energy taking place in there. It is in Scorpio, so Scorpio's in 10th, but then Venus and Pluto, I don't know if it's conjunct, but if it is conjunct, that's a wealth placement. And then Venus on its own in Scorpio is also a wealth placement. So it's this. So you can make a lot of money with that energy in there, but you're probably gonna have to do a lot of shadow work and like paying attention to get rich quick schemes and these types of things, because that could be something that takes place, where it's like you're kind of like trying to make the money fast, and then you kind of like get sucked into it, and then you lose a lot of money. So that's the struggle with Scorpio energy, because they're always trying to like trick the energy system, but it's like we're on a Saturnian plane, so you can't trick it because there's karma, right, around the earth plane. So because of this, because it's gridded in this way, you're always going to get caught, especially these days because we're going through the higher frequencies. So that's the struggle. Okay, let me just go back up. So you have lots of Saturn in your birth chart. Does that mean this lifetime is very karmic for yourself? You're having a South Node / rising Mars in Capricorn and Moon in Aquarius. It could be karmic, but the thing is like this earth plane, everything is karmic down here. Like it's operated by Saturn, you know? So it's like you could be very much Saturnian yourself, but you go well with the earth plane's energies. You know what I mean? So a lot of the time for Capricorn energy in a chart, these people start to see like their ultimate potential and like, you know, where like the fruits of their labor, that's the term. The fruits of your labor, like you start to see in the second half of your life for Capricorn. So earlier you're climbing, you're building. It's a lot of falling down, you know, what's that quote? Like fall down 7 times, get up 8. Like that's the energy, okay, for Capricorn. But it's like eventually you get to that point where you see yourself, right? The wealth, the money, the gains, maybe having a business, or if it's not business, in the corporate structures. So it's this for Capricorn energy, okay? Your karma is basically to elevate the financial status of the family line and the overall social status of the family line. Oh my gosh, Concern, hey, how are you doing? What's new? My thoughts on the whole sign system. For me, the Placidus system resonates more, and it resonates more with my own natal chart. So it's this. Okay, BRB, you guys. Okay, I am back. I probably froze, but I am back now. What is new? What is new? What's the 411? I'm just going back up. Let me know if you guys can hear me, if you guys can see me. Okay, I'm seeing the likes. Okay, good. I'm just going back up to see where I was. You said Mars and Scorpio in the third house. You're a full-time musician. Well, there it is. The third house is exactly this: the writing, the speaking, using your throat chakra. Mars and Scorpio operates behind the scenes. So it's slowly making its way to the top, okay? Behind the scenes, takes a break, assesses, is it good? Is it bad? Should I do it this way? Should I do it that way? That's Mars and Scorpio, okay? It's happening behind the scenes energetically. I love Mars and Scorpio because it's like it'll still get to the end goal. Do you know what I mean? It'll start off, maybe it'll be aggressive in the beginning when it really wants something, but then it'll start to strategize, should I do it like this? Should I do it like that? Like it's calculating. And it's like Scorpio doesn't really back down because it can also have a lot of patience, the energy. Like it can really go into things like for the long run is really, really what it is. You're welcome. Thanks for the likes, you guys. You guys are awesome. Yay, I'm glad that you're here, Maria. How are you doing? Neptune conjunction in Uranus in the third house. Usually Uranus in the third house is the sign of a genius, like someone who's super intellectual. And then Neptune in the third is going to make you a little bit more like dreamy. Like you could be also claircognizant or clairaudient actually with Neptune in the third house. Like you can hear things on the astral plane, or it could be through speaking or through speech or through music. You can get your information. So it could be all of these things, okay, with Neptune in the third house. So it's this. You could also be good at astrology with Uranus in the third house, or in general learning new languages, or like science even with Uranus in the third house, math, Uranus in the third house, all of these things. Mars and Scorpio. Oh, you have it retrograde. Okay, so the Mars and Scorpio in the third house retrograde. So you'll just have to work harder to go after your goals when it's retrograde, and you're basically finishing that again in this lifetime. Do you know what I mean? Like that particular task. So maybe in a past life you wanted to be a musician or something, but you weren't able to complete it. So you're coming through in this lifetime and you're like, I'm going to do that. Good. I'm not sure what the 12 sons of Jacob are. I'd have to look into that. Let me screenshot that so I can look into it. Thank you so much for the likes, you guys. You said, what if a Scorpio shows that they are vulnerable? Is it bad? No, I don't think it's bad. Scorpio is very sensitive. That's what's interesting. It's like they are super, super sensitive and they don't show it. It's not bad if they show it. Like, it's like, it depends what house you have it in. Because if you have Scorpio in the first house, you might be more comfortable with showing it compared to the other houses. But it's not a bad thing if Scorpio shows this. It's just like they're very much about self-preservation. So that could come from a few different things from the earlier part of their life with the Scorpionic energy. Maybe when they were younger, they expressed their emotions and they felt like people couldn't hold space for them. So then they hide. It could be this. But yes, that's something that they're meant to break through actually. So sometimes in a natal chart, you guys, I was actually thinking about this today. I mean, I've thought about this in the past, but I was thinking about this today where it's like, we're actually meant to, this is my own opinion, but we're actually meant to transcend our natal charts, okay? So it's like you're meant to transcend certain like lower vibrational energies and emotions and so on and so forth. So it's like sometimes what people do, just because like at this point in time, like we have the ego, right? Which is like people can create their identity through certain things, but you might have to like transcend, let's say, lower vibrational things. So like Scorpio struggling to show their vulnerability is a huge hindrance for them because they're looking for that depth, right? So if they're in that aspect of themselves, well, at that point in time, they could very much like be held back. Do you know what I mean? Because it's like they deeply seek these connections, but then they can't express who they are. And it's like, well, it's like this whole chicken and the egg situation then. Do you know what I mean? Where it's like you're meant to break free from that. That's the way that I see it. Jupiter in the first house. Hey, how are you doing? Jupiter in the first house, good or bad? I mean, it's good. You can make money through the self or through like physical activities. It could be through sports. It could be through dance. It could be through just like you as a person presenting something. It could be entrepreneurship. It gives you the undertone of having a Sagittarius rising, okay? When you have Jupiter in the first, if you look at the ancient rulership, it'll give you the undertone of having a Pisces rising. So you could be interested in teaching, even entrepreneurship, being on a stage in the sway, a comedian. So it's all of these things where it's like you're being seen. Travel, maybe even you can make money through all of these things, Jupiter in the first house. For transits, okay, so for those of you who are asking questions about transits, okay, even like the Mars-Uranus transit, what you guys want to see is what house is that particular energy going through in your natal chart, okay? So anytime there's a transit that's taking place, you want to see where do you have that energy in your natal chart. So let's say right now Pluto is retrograding through Aquarius, okay? So you want to see where do you have Aquarius in your natal chart, and it's going to affect that house. And then you look and see what does that particular transit mean, or that planet, and it's going to be affecting that particular house in your own natal chart. But it's hard to say because it's like when you look at transits, you can't look at one thing, you know? You could have something else that's also transiting at the same time that's canceling out that energy. So that's why it's tricky with transits. You can't look at like, you can't hone in on that one thing. Do you know what I mean? You can look at it for fun, like that's the thing. But it's like sometimes people look at one thing and then like, you know, they start to freak out and they start to go into like anxiety and like all of these things. And it's like something else could be taking place too that's like counteracting that energy. So it's hard to say, but overall, if you guys want to look at it for fun and you guys want to look at it for yourselves, you just want to see what house do you have that particular energy and that particular planet is transiting through, and then you can figure that out for yourselves and see what that means, okay? Anytime you guys want to look at transits. Thank you. How are you guys doing? I'm just going in order, so I'm just going back up. Saturn square Neptune, oh, that's intense. And then you said you have Saturn in the 3rd house and then you have Neptune in the 5th. Right away I got like, you know, there could be a part of you that wants to, especially because it's in the 5th, maybe there could be a part of you that wants to have fun, but there's something here with like the upbringing and the home that restricted you in that area, or even restricted you in like the area of dreaming, or maybe even restricted you in the area of like your dreams, for example, or like your psychic gifts and abilities. Like it could be this, because Saturn is like the parent. Do you know what I mean? Neptune is like no boundaries. So it's like, yeah. It's basically this. So Saturn in the 3rd, you could have been restricted in the area of speaking, speech, your mind, your intellect. You could have struggled in school with that energy. Neptune in the 5th can really dream about relationships and like this ideal partner and this ideal situation. So it could be this. I could see that manifesting. This is just like psychically coming through, but I can even see this energy manifesting in a partner for you, where it's like the partner also restricts you in this particular area. So it's like, you know, maybe you dream of this ideal situation and then the partner kind of comes through like a parent almost, where it's like they're kind of suppressing you almost. I don't know, but it came through. So you said your current is 11th heavy, next full moon, Leo happening. Leo happening and all your current planets are there. You already see how your 11th is activated in your life at the moment. That's awesome. You said, hey everyone, you said it's a weird thing, but can you see in a birth chart if you don't have the exact hour of the person, if they have been, ooh, an unaliver? Interesting. I'm sure you can. I think that's a little bit more advanced in astrology, but you probably could. You can see everything in a natal chart. And the thing is too, I feel like we're not even given all of the information is really, really what that is. I feel like the people who are in all of those secret groups and so on and so forth, I think they get the full picture of all the things, and then we kind of get a little bit of the picture, and then the rest is us just doing research and figuring these things out for ourselves is really, really what that is with astrology. But you can see everything in there is really, really what that is, because there's something in the, like energetically, that's operating the whole astrological aspect of things. So I do believe that as people go through those, like, it's just my own opinion, but as they go through those secret groups, they get more and more information. And I think that they know all of this information. So, but yeah, maybe people who are a little bit more advanced will be able to see something like that for you. But it's this, so you'll see everything in a chart. Like you will literally see everything in a chart. And I find it interesting that people kind of like freely post their charts online, because I'm like, you can literally see everything in a natal chart. What is your question, Angela? Because you said you would love my take. Can you retype the question? Okay, so Koi Mama, you said you have Mercury, Mars, Sun, Uranus, Neptune, North Node in the 1st house. Also Venus at 4 degrees below your ascendant. What are my thoughts? So much in this house. Yeah, so you're meant to master the self in this lifetime, especially the North Node being in the 1st. That means your South Node is in the 7th. So in a past life, you probably didn't, like, you weren't able to express the self for whatever reason. Maybe you sacrificed a lot for other people. Maybe you had a partner and you were just with that partner. Like the sign in here, did you mention the sign? I don't think you mentioned the sign in here. But the sign in here will give us a little bit more information, because also the South Node is then going to be, it could be conjuncting your descendant. And the thing is, if that's taking place, then a lot of people that are coming through in this lifetime for you could just be from a past life, and they could be pulling you into the past life karma, but you're actually meant to focus on the North Node, which is the direction that you're heading in this lifetime, which is the self, okay? So another thing that can happen for the people who have these types of energies in their natal chart, like the first house, seventh house axis, especially when it's in your north node, sometimes you don't get into like that, I don't want to say idealized, but like you don't get into a union that maybe like you were seeking. Because the thing is, in a past life, you could have been only looking for the one, or only looking for a union, or only focusing on relationships. So it's like on that soul level, you left with a desire line, right? Because you sacrifice a lot for the relationship. So you come through in this lifetime with the north node in the first, and you could kind of just like be detracted in a way from like being in that union with a person, for example. Or it's like if you find yourself falling into constantly looking for the one, or like that union, it's distracting you from the self. I hope that makes sense. So you're meant to figure out the self first, okay? And then when you have that down and what you're doing and your overall life purpose, then the person comes through. I hope that makes sense. This like union, or just like the people around you. But up until that point, all these dynamics are karmic, because they're pulling you out of your north node. They're pulling you out of your life purpose. I hope that that makes sense. Okay, so you said your question was about Pisces Saturn and Aries Moon. Pisces Saturn and Aries Moon in your 8th house. What should you be cautious of and aware of? Interesting. That's a lot to do with like secrets, hidden things behind the scenes. Saturn in the 8th could just be like even like secrets with the father that you weren't aware of, perhaps. Maybe now, because you're going through your Saturn return, it could be coming to the surface, certain things that you didn't see. That's the 8th house. It's all things that are hidden, occult knowledge, these types of things. Even with the moon, it could even be with the mother or the home or the upbringing overall. So sometimes when I see like 8th house energy in a chart, even 12th house, so 8th house, 12th house, even 4th house, actually, you're clearing karma for the family line. In one way, shape, or form, everyone is doing this already, but you specifically come through with that like energetic mission. So you could be bringing things to the surface that like weren't seen within the family line. For example, maybe it was codependencies, maybe it was addictions, something of the sort, especially because it's in the moon. Like it's things that weren't seen, right, around the home that you're like potentially bringing to the surface and clearing energetically. I hope that makes sense. You said you're reluctant to bring this up, but from a metaphysical standpoint, what in the world is going on this planet these days? Yeah, it's intense. Okay, so here's the thing. Yeah, I don't look at transits because I like to believe in free will. You know what I mean? So that's why I don't look at it, and I don't like to do predictive astrology, but I can really feel into the energies. So the thing is like when I feel into it, especially, it's so interesting that all that stuff went down. I think it was on Saturday. I'm kind of talking in code here. So, but yes, all the stuff went down on Saturday, and it's so interesting because me and one of my psychic friends, we started both picking up on energy on Friday, like this intense energy just like happening in the astral plane. And I was like, what is happening? Like, what is this energy? What is taking place? And it was basically taking place from Friday until Sunday. And it's interesting because all the happenings went down on Saturday. So I don't know what to say. The collective is wilding out. My theory is that like the frequency of the planet, we're going into the higher and higher vibrations, right? So the higher up we go, you have more of like the darkness that's within people, because people are fragmented, right? So the higher up we go in the vibrations, the more of these like fragments and darker energies in people are coming to the surface. So if people are fragmented and they're not integrated, right? And like, obviously you're never going to be 100%. Like that's not what I'm saying at all. But it's like for people who are super like separated within the self, right? Like it's like they could be like living double lives and like these types of things. Like they're going into this like dissonance energy because the frequency is pulling people into like an authenticity type of frequency. Do you know what I mean? So it's like the things that are going to thrive and survive on this plane are going to be authenticity and people being authentic and true to themselves is really what that is. So it's interesting because it's so interesting. Last year I made a post on my threads and I was like, I hope all the scammers and con artists enjoy the rest of Pluto and Capricorn, right? And it's interesting because like so many people already this year with Pluto going into Aquarius, and it just started, are being like quote unquote exposed for being scammers, con artists, liars, deceptive, all these types of things. Those things aren't going to work anymore. That's like the old energy, and that's like the old like matrix, right? Where things were like happening behind the scenes, people weren't integrated, people were lying and so on and so forth. Because the thing is, it's like we're telepathic as humans, right? But it's like we're telepathic, and it's like you can kind of look at it as like mind reading and so on and so forth. But it's like we can't be at that point because people are so fragmented. Do you know what I mean? So it's like a lot of people are like hiding behind a mask. So it's like you have people, so you have that group of people that like doesn't know what to do with the energy within themselves. So like they could be lashing out, or they could just be doing like all these types of things, right? Because they don't know what's happening, first of all. But second of all, it's like it's an intense energy because when there's a lot of light, the darkness comes to the surface. I hope that that makes sense. Then you have the NPC people who are just literally NPCs, and they're just like malfunctioning. Do you know what I mean? So it's like they can't even operate, right? Because basically the whole veil is lifting, and the whole like the whole like charade is coming down is really, really what that is. That's basically what's happening from my own psychic perspective, okay? So that's the way that I see it. So because of this, people are wilding out, especially people who are unhealed, because they, like, I can't explain it any other way, because it's like if you're a person who has a lot of light and you're around one of these people, you'll see that your light irritates them. It kind of brings their like demons to the surface is really what that is. So if you are a person who has a lot of light, you know, just being weary, right? Because these people can be like very like unstable, I guess is the word that I'm looking for. Like you don't know if they're gonna lash out. What are they gonna do in that moment? And like, even if you're out and about, like, yeah, that's kind of like the energy that I've really been picking up on is instability. Yes, that's the term. Let's see. I don't do Zoom readings, no. You said, yeah, the energy is wild. The energy is wild. The energy is wild. It was so interesting because this happened to me yesterday, and even one of my psychic friends too, both of us said the same thing. We were like, we literally didn't get like a break from the energy until we went back into our house. And it's like, it was interesting because then I went out for a walk and then I started picking up on the energy again, is really what it is. Like this just like instability energy, just like in the sky. And it's like, I don't know if the issue is because of all the financial pressures on people. Like, I don't know if it's because of that. People are starting to feel unstable because like their root chakra is basically being affected and all these types of things. And it's like a lot of the time, like if you place your stability on external things and that thing isn't there anymore, well then it's like a solar plexus thing. Like your solar plexus starts to go out of control, and then you're trying to like hold on to whatever is going to give you like comfort and like soothe that anxiety within you in that particular moment. But that's why you need to work on yourself. And that's why you can't place your stability on external things. You can't even place it on people. Okay. Especially these days, like people are so unreliable, right? So the best thing to do during these times is to figure out your own peace and cultivate your own peace and not place that on another person is really what that is. Because people are energetically really, really going through it. Like it is so intense. So if you're energetically sensitive, like spending time in nature is going to be helpful. Spending time by water is going to be helpful. Or if you have friends who are like on the same frequency as you, like spending time with those people and like not engaging with people, like, you know, like people who are, let's say, argumentative, because some people are just kind of looking for an outlet, for example, to just like, you know, to unleash this energy that's like irritating them within. But it's like what's irritating them within is just like their own shadows. I really, really hope that makes sense. So it's all this. You said you believe in free will. There is just surrounding energy who magnetically pull us. We are still able to move in the real and move freely in any way, shape, or form when aware. Yeah, so the way that I see it personally is, okay, so there's the earth plane, right? Okay, let me try to explain it to you guys. This is how I psychically see it. So there's the earth plane, right? It's a plane of existence, okay? I know people are always debating, is it this, is it that? It's not even a physical place, okay? We are in a plane, like we are in a dimension, okay? This is a dimension. It's not even a physical place, okay? This is a whole conversation, but people can't understand that because people are very much like, everything feels so physically real, but the whole reason it feels physically real is because of the frequency that we are all vibrating at, okay? So there's the earth plane, right? Which is where we're at. And then there's like the gridded energy that's around the earth, which is the Saturn, the whole Saturnian astrology thing that operates everything down here, right? So the way that I see it is like earth is like this, right? So because earth is elevating, or like we're elevating in frequency, and then there's a Saturnian like plane, right? Or just like the Saturnian, it's a grid. Like I can't explain it any other way. There's something around the earth, like around the earth's field, right? So we're elevating, so it's going like this. It's getting closer and closer, right? So this is why a lot of karmic things are coming to the surface, especially this year too, because it is an 8 year. So we're going closer and closer, right? It's kind of like, can't explain any other ways. You know when like there's almost like something that you're gonna crush, right? So when we surpass it, right, we're like, astrology is not going to affect us anymore, or we're not going to need it anymore. But to get to that point, everyone has to become aware of the astrological aspect of things. Do you know what I mean? So it's important to understand, but it's also important not to feed into it. This is why I don't look at transits, because if you look at transits, you're feeding into this system of control that's taking place energetically. Okay, I hope that that makes sense. So that's kind of what's happening energetically, right? That's how I see it. That's the only way that I can explain it. So there's different terms for this, like in the New Age. I tried to stay away from the New Age terms because in the New Age, there's a lot of deception mixed in. There's certain truths, but there's also a lot of deception. And for the person who was asking me earlier about, you know, the psychic intuition, like how do you know it's true? Like people have to get in tune with their heart space and their discernment. So that's the only way you'll know when something is actually resonating or not. And that's what's going to help you in the future times to come, because we're going to go through even more of these energies as like the old systems just start falling away and falling apart, because it's part of the illusion. Like it's an illusionary fake system is really, really what that is. Oh my gosh, I can't explain any other way. I hope you guys are following. Hey, how are you guys doing? You said more light causes more darkness, plain easy. Some people are very aware and some are just walking One second. And some are just walking through life most of the time on autopilot. Yeah, those are usually the NPCs. You said nobody perfect with and without autopilot, but it is what it is. You said grid be good. Yeah, I don't know what to say. Honestly, the thing is like, I think to myself sometimes, and I look at in general, like the general population, and sometimes I think to myself and I'm like, you know, some people, right, need rules, you know, to follow, you know, because they would be wilding out otherwise. So that's kind of like the other conversation, but like a whole conversation of its own. Okay. I'm going back to the astrology questions. Okay, Brianna, you said insight and Neptune, Uranus, Saturn in the 8th house, you're a Virgo sun, Pisces moon. Okay, so I was saying that to someone earlier. If you have the 8th house energy that's taking place in your chart, you could be a medium also, okay? You could also be a psychic, you could be intuitive, you're definitely clairsentient. You're usually here to clear something that is within the family line, within the family structure, something that's hidden, okay, with the 8th house, something that was like maybe a secret or an addiction, or maybe it was a gambling problem and these types of things, okay? So that's the 8th house. It's going to make you deep. It's going to make you behind the scenes. You're operating behind the scenes and you're a healer on top of all of that. So after you clear all your own stuff, okay, with the 8th house, the 8th house deals with sexuality. It deals with vulnerability. It deals with anything with the sacral chakra and also merging of energy. So like other people's money, other people's resources, all these types of things, okay? Taxes, debt, even with the 8th house too. So Saturn in the 8th house, so you basically get restricted in that area when you're younger, but you're meant to break through that exact energy. So you get restricted maybe in the area of vulnerability. But thing is, and going back to the other individual who was asking about like Scorpios and vulnerability, if you don't get in tune with your emotions and you don't get in tune with your vulnerability within, and like you're not honest and real with yourself, then you can't get in tune with the psychic realms. Do you know what I mean? Like that's just how it works, okay? So that's why sometimes like people are psychically open, but they're like in the lower vibrations, like they're in fear and again fragmented, or just like have gone through a lot of things, which it's like, it just is what it is down here. It's the way that this plane is, right? It's a trauma-based plane, which is a whole conversation of its own. But it's like, if you stay in your lower chakras and you're psychically open, then you go into paranoias. Do you know what I mean? And you go into like the lower vibrational aspects of being a psychic person. So after you clear these things and heal these things, then you're able to go into the heart space and go into those higher chakras. And then you become a healer basically because you're operating out of the heart space. Because the ultimate end goal is to operate out of the heart space. Like the heart resonance and the heart frequency is really what that is, like love and gratitude and peace and these types of things, okay? But it's like, if there's something there that's not processed, it's always going to be pulling at you and it's going to be pulling you down is really what that is. And then people come through, they hook into that, okay? So they hook into that and then they poke at that energetically because that's just this plane, right? Is really, really what that is. So it's this. Let's see. Oh, that's an interesting question. You said, is life continuous and circular, or will God rapture everything you think circularly continuous? It's hard to say because I know like there's a lot of like religious things out there, and it's like, again, even with religion, there's two truths and a lie in there too. So it's like, again, even if you're going to read these texts, you have to go through like the original text first of all, but also you have to see it through the metaphysical lens, and you have to see it through the heart space type of lens. The only way I can explain things is from a frequency standpoint. Like personally, I believe definitely there's a God. There's some form of higher source, divine creator absolutely is there. But the way that I see it is like, it's a frequency thing. Do you know what I mean? Like the times that we're living in is like the frequency is elevating. So because the frequency is elevating, everything that's dark and like shadowy and shadowy behavior is being brought to the surface to be looked at and healed is basically what's taking place during this period of time. That's the way that I see it. So there's this dimension, and I look at everything dimensionally, right? So we're in this dimension right now, but after everyone clears whatever they need to clear down here and they don't incarnate into this dimension again, you go on, you go elsewhere. That's the way that I personally see it, but maybe other people have different perspectives. I'm so glad that that resonated. That's awesome. Yes, it's definitely a Scorpio chat. Yeah, you said you think the Scorpios are waking up. That's hilarious. You said, is having dual water systems uncommon? You have one in Scorpio and another in Pisces. No, you said the lifelike dreaming you have each night is almost draining after waking up. Yeah, what you can do, John, is like, it's interesting. We were talking about dreams earlier too. You can say like in your mind, depends, because I know different people are going to say, some people are going to say higher self, some people are going to say angels, some people are going to say God, like whoever, right? I just see it as like you from the future. Like you can even just say to yourself, like just say to yourself and be like, I don't want to dream anything that's draining. And this is what I was saying earlier too, because the thing is sometimes people who have these energies like might not remember their dreams because exactly that reason, because then it's draining the next day, because then you're trying to figure it out and you're thinking and you're wasting too much mental energy, right? So if it's draining for you, you can just say to yourself like telepathically in your mind and just be like, I need a break tonight, or I don't want to dream anything tonight. Like that's kind of how I do things personally. So maybe it'll help. And maybe you can look to see like some form of crystals, maybe that could help you, like maybe more grounding crystals, like maybe getting like onyx or something of that sort, like while you're sleeping, to help you ground when you're going off into the astral realm. Because it could be this, like you could be like really going off into the ethers while you're sleeping. Yeah, you said lots of people with A-house stelliums. I know we're having a Plutonian chat today. I love it, because every time we have a chat, it's always a different theme, and today is Scorpio. You said law of attraction, once you are rich and stable enough, it becomes natural to pull lower vibrating people who you can share your light with. Absolutely, a basic higher knowledge you can observe. Like, yeah, the way that I see it is like the more you develop your solar plexus, this is the way that I see it, because that's your personal power. So it's like the way, okay, so the way that you heal, you kind of go from the bottom up. You heal all the lower vibrational things, like whatever may have taken place. And then when you start to expand outwards, like you start to strengthen your aura, you strengthen it through your solar plexus is really what that is. So then people can't pull you down because you kind of have that awareness now to not be able to be pulled down. Do you know what I mean? So then you pull people up is really what that is. But usually for whatever reason, when people are unaware and they have a lot of light energy and there's like that crack in their aura, the dark people come around and then they pull you down with them. You don't want that to happen. You want to see if you can pull them up with you energetically. And if you can't, then you need to leave that person. Okay. Yes, sending you guys so much love too. You guys are so awesome. Yeah, literally Pluto for the win. I'm Pluto dominant, so I know all about that life. And it's interesting because you guys can also look at like the root of all of your placements. So when you go through the root, I mean, that's going to have to be a whole conversation of its own, because there's a lot to explain there. But basically you're looking at the ruler and then you keep going like ruler until you basically get to the root of all the energies. So I was doing that for myself, and everything comes back down to Scorpio, which makes sense. I'm pretty sure that that's like when you look at the dominant planets, I think that that's how the system basically calculates your dominant planets and your signs, okay? Because you can have, let's say, like I have a Libra stellium, but I also have a Scorpio stellium, but then my dominant planet is Pluto and Saturn, actually. So it's this. So I have to find, because I know the website that used to do that wasn't able to do that when I recently went back. So I have to see if I can find another website that calculates the dominant like energies in your chart. So anyways, that's my tangent about that. I'm just going to go up here and see if I missed anybody. Sun, Mercury, Mars, and Pluto in the 10th house in Scorpio. Oh my gosh, another Scorpio person. Will it ever get better career-wise? You want to look at your 4th house. So when you have a 10th house stellium, you're meant to work with the public and you're meant to climb to those higher heights, usually the second half of your life. If it's not going in the direction that you want, what I always say to people, look at your 4th house. What took place in your 4th house? What took place in your home? What took place in your upbringing? Maybe there's belief systems that you have internalized that are not your own belief systems that are holding you back from your 10th house, okay? So I'm curious to know. Oh, you said that's your midheaven. Okay, so Scorpio's in your midheaven, so then you have Taurus in your 4th house. So if your 4th house is Taurus, maybe there's belief system, something subconscious here that could be taking place with the upbringing where it's like you didn't feel worthy of receiving money because of maybe commentary that the family made, okay, when you were younger. This is too expensive. Like it's micro things like this that go into your subconscious, right? This is too expensive. We can't buy that right now. Like these types of things, whether you have money or you don't have money, if you have 4th house in Taurus, right? There's something here that takes place with the home and the upbringing where you kind of go into like a scarcity around money, or where there was like pettiness around money, or maybe the parents went through a divorce and then they use money and they weaponize money against each other. Do you know what I mean? So you want to look at the 4th house and see what's going on in here with that particular sign, and that's going to give you information about your 10th house. I have a video on this also on here. I think it's under the miscellaneous playlist where I talk about the importance of the 4th house. Okay, the 4th house is important because you can't get to your 10th house if you don't go through the 4th house and the preceding houses in general, but especially the 4th house because that's your home and that's your upbringing, okay? So with that access, the 10th house, 4th house, right? You always want to look at the 4th house and see what took place in the home and in the upbringing that's holding you, it's pulling you back, right, out of getting to that 10th house. Sometimes, I've mentioned this before because I learned this from someone else years ago. Basically, what they were saying was like sometimes children have the subconscious like not fear, but just like subconscious energy where they don't want to outperform their parents, because if you outperform the parents and the family, you're basically saying to them like what they did was not good enough. Okay, this is all subconsciously happening in the background, right? I thought that was really interesting because then it kind of keeps you like dimmed, you know what I mean? Or you're dimming yourself. So there could be something going on with all of this, something of the sort basically taking place. Absolutely. Yeah, astrology does come from India. Absolutely, it does. A lot of things do, actually. I'm just going back up. Scorpio rising conjunct Venus in the first house. Okay, so that's nice. You're good looking. And then you said also Pluto is in Scorpio and you feel very plutonic, and you have a stellium in Sag, second house. What does that mean? Yeah, it's interesting. The Scorpio energy always takes over, eh? Because even though you have your stellium in Sag, which is freedom and fun and wanting to go here and there and everywhere, I bet you anything the Scorpio energy is still pulling you, okay? Because Scorpio deals with the shadows and it deals with the undercurrents of energy and it deals with all of like the lower vibrational things in society and in life in general. So I have so many videos on here on Scorpio energy and the A house. I have a whole playlist actually. So if you guys are interested, go check out that playlist because I could talk about the energy for days because there's so much to say, okay? Basically, it deals with your sacral chakra. Your sacral chakra is your sexual energy. And your sexual energy, in my opinion, is your life force, okay? So it's your way to create. When you have a lot of Scorpio energy, you incarnate with a lot of sexual energy because you have a lot of life force. Like you have a lot of creative energy. You're meant to be creating. You're meant to be using that energy to create. Is really what that is, okay? But then you look at the world, and the world targets exactly this chakra for everybody. But Scorpio people have a lot of this sexual energy in general, okay? So that chakra could have been targeted for you, and then you get wounded in that area, and then you might have like, because the sacral chakra is connected to like guilt and shame, for example, so you might deal with these emotions, and that could be holding you back from your manifestation potential, right? So it's interesting to see the way that this earth plane is, because when you have something that you're meant to be doing in this like lifetime, or you have a gift, or like, you know, you might be talented in an area, you'll see that you get targeted in exactly that area because that's just unfortunately the way that this plane works down here. So you always have to be fighting that energy and you can't let that energy win. That's the way that I see it, okay? So it's this. You're welcome. You said Scorpio stellium and dark undercurrents. It's so frustrating to see hidden things in our society. Exactly, everybody else seems to overlook. I know. It's really interesting to see that because it's like, sometimes I just look at things in general and I'm just like, how? It's like right there. Like, how do you not see it? But people don't have that ability. And you know what's interesting? What I've also noticed with Scorpionic energy is sometimes these people might have anxiety when they're like underdeveloped or unaware because they are psychic. So then they think that everyone around them is psychic. So they might kind of have the fear that like other people know what they're up to. Like, especially when you're like in the shadowy aspects of Scorpio or like the lower vibrations of Scorpio, if you're like lying or like manipulating and these types of things, you might have a lot of anxiety. Well, first of all, sometimes that comes with like getting caught. There's that aspect of it as well, but then there's the psychic aspect of it as well. This is something that I was thinking about because it's like one time I made a video way back on my TikTok and I was saying how I feel like social anxiety sometimes comes from you being overly energetically sensitive, like energetically open and porous. So it's like, you know, you're picking up on all these energies around you, so it's like giving you anxiety. There's that part of it, but then there's the other part of it where it's like you might kind of, because you perceive everyone, like you see through people, do you know what I mean? So because you see through people, you might think that people see through you. So when you're just like underdeveloped or just like younger, like people, everyone's like this, do you know what I mean? So when you're in this energy, you might go into more anxiety because you're like, oh my gosh, like you're hyper vigilant, but it's like not, like most people can't see the world the way that you see the world. I don't know, I really hope that that makes sense. You're welcome. Okay, guys, if you want your own natal chart reading or progressed natal chart reading, the information for all of that is in the description box below. I'm going to sign off now. Thank you for your likes, shares, subscribes. Thank you for being here in the chat. If I didn't get to your questions, I'll get to your questions next time is really what that is. But yes, thank you all for being here, and I hope you all have a beautiful rest of your day.